Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
We do have someone who aspired to be the Mayor of Kapiti and came close and is now District-wide Councillor. Gwynn Compton, good morning and welcome to you.
Morning, John.
Lovely to talk to you, and I'm going to say on air what I said to you off air. Congratulations on the campaign. It was
Thank you very much.
A long campaign that you waged. You brought up many interesting issues. You backed up your claims with lots of facts and figures, and I thought, well, that's democracy in action. Good on you.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you for that. And, first I want to congratulate Mayor Guru on his re-election. As you said, it was a firm and fair campaign, and it was focused on the issues that matter to Kapiti.
Yes, it makes you proud, actually, to be part of a democracy like that, a democracy that works despite what happens in other parts of the world in these crazy times. Gwynn, I mentioned it was a long campaign. When did you make the decision that you wanted to have a crack at being mayor?
Well, I originally thought of standing for council all the way back in 2016, but then my wife and I had our first child on the way, so I decided having Renee 8 months pregnant and running a campaign probably wasn't the best thing. So sort of in December of last year, I made the call that I was going to do it, and obviously made the public announcement in January.
And obviously you've been thinking about local issues for some time. How long have you been on the coast? I mean, a resident of the coast?
So my wife and I moved here in 2013. My wife Renee is Paraparaumu, born and bred. I was originally from Upper Hutt and then grew up in Johnsonville. And we met while we were both working in Wellington, did our OE, and once we came back and were looking for where we were going to settle down and start a family, it was, the easiest choice in the world for us to come to Kapiti so that our kids could have the same fantastic upbringing here that Renee had had.
And why did you want to have a go at council? Was it, as a citizen, you had a look at what was happening and thought it should happen better?
Yeah, that was it. There was a sense of frustration on my part that sort of we've got these big challenges coming our way. Transmission Gully is going to see another 10,000 people move into Kapiti, and, the big concern about how we're going to handle that growth. If we don't do it well, then it will result in lots of people being forced out of the district by higher house prices and increasing rents. But also, how do we go about preserving that really special character of the Kapiti coast that we all love?
So lots of challenges there, and as you say, those challenges are likely to increase. Transmission Gully theoretically open next year. Looks as if it's well on track. And you've made the case that we have not done enough already. Do you think it should be an imperative? You mentioned housing, and you realise that I have an interest in housing, so I've got a little bit of self-interest in asking this question. Do you think that the KCDC should focus more on housing?
Yeah, I think there hasn't been enough done over the past 3 years. There was a good start, and I guess that's the opportunity for us going forward. We need to sort of, put the accelerator down a bit more to try and get as far ahead as what's going to come from Transmission Gully. As soon as that's open, you can see lots of Wellingtonians are going to want to move up here because, they visit, they enjoy the lifestyle, they enjoy the great weather. The commute's going to become much easier. So we need to make sure that we actually preserve all the things that we love, but also accommodate that growth too, because we can't stop people wanting to move to Kapiti, but we can make it work for us. And
what do you see the role of local government in housing? Is there a role?
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously what they can do around the district plan in terms of all the zoning and what sort of developments are permitted and where they take place. There's also being as easy for people to do business with as well, making sure that whether you're a big developer or whether you're a mum and dad home owner, that going to council, and whether you're doing a subdivision or whether you're building 100 houses, that the whole process is pain-free and as easy and quick as possible, because that's what we need to do. You look up the road in Horowhenua, they've managed to pick up their residential building consents by 30%, and they've got this great reputation of being really proactive in helping people navigate the Resource Management Act and the Building Act. And, that's the sort of ethos we need to have in Kapiti as well.
Now, the open for business mantra, really, that we hear from the KCDC, that questioning of just how open for business the KCDC was seemed to be a reasonably consistent part of your campaign. Have you been hearing from people, from developers, from business people, that it's not easy in this district?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's from everyone, from your big commercial developers right through to sort of mum and dad own a home and they want to put a garage in, they find it very difficult to get things through council, get things approved, or they find the process is sort of a new hurdle gets put in your way without any visibility of what the whole process is. And, if you've got a big commercial developer who, in theory, has the time and the money to sort of wage that sort of battle and they don't want to do it, it just sort of starves off any housing development. And we've seen that with residential building consents. I think they're down around about 20-25% in the last couple of years, just when we need them to be heading in the right direction. And we saw it last year as well with the Chamber of Commerce. They had their survey come out from their members as well, where they sort of expressed their frustration in dealing with council too. So there's definitely a lot of work to do over the next 3 years in addressing that culture and, turning things around at council so that, it's much easier for people to do business with.
The trouble is that I think you'll find many of those people don't find the councillors, the elected officials, difficult to deal with. They may on occasions, but generally speaking they may not. I think the problem is with the bureaucracy, with the officers, the unelected officers. What do you think the solution is to that?
Well, they've had the operational review, which I think they selected the preferred provider for that at the final council meeting on the 10th. And so that's a big opportunity for us as a new councillor is to go in there with the operational review and use that as the sort of lever to get change to the way that council operates. Because, I don't have any doubt that council staff work really hard, but there's obviously more that can be done based on the feedback we've heard from the community about how they can work smarter and how they can be easier for people to work with as well.
One of the instances you quoted during the campaign about a difficulty with doing business with KCDC concerned 26 Marine Parade in Paraparaumu, the land that the council has recently purchased purportedly for some kind of destination venue for Kapiti Island. But you've suggested that one of the reasons for that purchase is that it was almost impossible for the previous owner of that property to develop it in the way he wanted, and therefore the council had to buy him out to get over an issue. Now, that may be an overly broad generalisation, but what can you tell us about that situation and any concerns you may have?
Yeah, so without going into too many specifics of it, essentially what you've said is that the sort of requirements of the district plan made it that any sort of commercial footprint on that site or those two sites wasn't going to be viable enough to actually, make a profit for a developer. And, that's the sort of thing that if a big developer can't actually realise that site in a commercial way, then no one's going to want to buy that site off them. And ultimately, council's sort of gone in there as a purchaser of last resort. And, that the statements have sort of indicated that they're not exactly clear what they want to use the site for either. So they've paid, I think, about $1.4 million for it. And they're not quite sure. I mean, people on the Gateway project were told that that's still going to take place around the boating club somewhere. So we don't know what quite the plan is for that site, but I'm looking forward to finding out what they've got in store.
I bet you are. But in principle, if that is going to be council property and the Gateway is servicing private organisations, to what extent should public money subsidise private operations?
Well, this is the big question, isn't it? And
yeah.
One of the key things of the Gateway project was to have that biosecurity check-in centre for Kapiti Island as well, and you can't have those two buildings located on 26 Marine Parade and then have people walk across the park to board a boat. There's some fundamental questions that need to be asked about what's actually going on with both of those projects and figuring out, what council's actual role in there too. Because I don't have any objection with us investing in these sorts of things that are going to support business development or support some of the tourism opportunities we have, but we need to be very careful that we're being very responsible with ratepayers' money in this, because we don't want to be, building white elephants or anything like that.
And Gwynn, we've got an interesting council here, haven't we? You are part of, really, a new wave. People like Rob McCann, who, of course, has stood for the Otaki seat for Labour for some time, young Sophie Hanford. And isn't that wonderful to see? And in fact, this will not be... this council, the incoming council, will be not anything like the outgoing council. It could be quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a really great mix of people on there, a huge diversity in ages and experiences and politics, and I think it's going to be a really progressive and hopefully action-orientated council as well.
Let's hope so. Gwynn Compton, thank you for joining us this morning and welcome to the council.
Thank you very much.
There we are. All the way. That's Gwynn Compton.
106.3 Beach FM.